Hi, guys, and welcome back to Sustain Sessions. This is episode 2, where I'm going to be talking about mainly investing in yourself. I think that's one of the main things I've learned over this time. It's not just going to be investing in yourself. I'm going to be talking about principles and codes that I've learned to kind of live by as a result of my experience in the music industry, the very limited 7 years that I've had so far in releasing music. But these are things I've also learned from a professional perspective of being in music from a company perspective. As I said, I've previously been at PRS and a quite a large independent record label. As a result of those things, I think a lot of these things have formed the ethos of my opinions and my ideas. So yeah, the first thing I would say is to try and build infrastructure around your dominant gifts. So the example I would use with myself is initially when I started off in music, I was just a singer. I didn't really play any instruments. I mean, I did piano up to grade 3 classical when I was young, maybe like 11 to like 13 maybe maximum. Got up to grade 3, realized classical music wasn't really for me, and I left it alone. It wasn't something that I pursued further. Now obviously I've said a bit of my journey before that I came to faith, and I became someone who was quite focused on music and writing. Now, building infrastructure around your dominant gifts means, I guess, looking for people as well that complement your gift. For me, I'm more of a lyricist stroke psalmist, so it's useful for me to have somebody plays an instrument, a minstrel, to complement what I do. Now, this was quite organic for me because, as I said, I prayed and I was led, and I met my guitarist at the time, Charles, who's a wonderful guy. And but yeah, build infrastructures kind of around your dominant gifts. To be honest, it's sort of not fully true as well, because I built an infrastructure with my studio and investing in a studio. But to be honest, at the time, that wasn't a dominant gift for me. It's become a dominant gift over time. So I guess you kind of have to see potential. You have to see potential in yourself as well. And you have to see potential in yourself and build infrastructure around those things that can complement what you do. It's one of the sort of things that people do in business as well. For example, if you own a clothing shop and you need to get clothes in and you get them delivered from somewhere, the way you sort of become forward thinking in business or begin to expand is you might start thinking about the supply chain, and you might start thinking about maybe getting involved in delivery of that material to yourself, or getting involved in the actual textiles or texture manufacturing. So those kind of thoughts are the kind of thoughts you have to think about when I talk about building infrastructure around yourself. Okay, your dominant gift is singing. Do you need to be surrounded by writers? Should you maybe invest in writing or songwriting courses? Should you begin to think about recording yourself and becoming maybe slightly an engineer, learning basics of engineering? Should you begin to think about marketing? Various things. There's a lot of things that surround artistry that aren't specifically just singing. Singing is such a small part, I feel like, of what I overall do now. It's the easy part of what I do. But if you don't build the infrastructure around you, you may not necessarily ever discover that. If you just stay at the one thing, and you can be, and it's probably potentially a criticism that people could have of me, like being a jack of all trades, master of none. But I think we live in a time and in an industry where you need to be able to do more than just your primary thing, and the supporting gifts that come along with it can actually become even greater than your main gift for some. But as I said, some people are just singers. But in this industry, in this market, being just a singer is a lot harder, because you may need to pay to work with a writer. There are a lot of hungry writers out there, but if you want a good writer, you may want to consider investing in that. That's something that could be investing in yourself. But for me, I always think about, when I'm paying somebody for anything, is there a way that I can do this? And it's a very unusual thing to say. And it's not tight. Like, I've got no problem, and you'll hear as I go through this, I've got no problem spending money on people or things, but it's just the way my mind works. Over time, through developing and learning other skills, I've realised, well, if I'm paying somebody for that, is there any way that I can learn it? And sometimes it's not even been me that's thought that, it's been the Holy Spirit that's led me towards a particular field that I wasn't really interested in. Like, the main example I'll give is about my camera, this camera that I'm using at the moment. I'm using a Canon EOS R, and for me at the time, I was due to get a bonus from work, and for that year there was actually a bit of a dispute about the bonus. I can't go into too much, I'm not saying what workplace it was. There was a dispute about the bonus, and it meant that my bonus was downgraded, which actually meant that I got maybe half the money I was due to get. That left me just enough money to get a second-hand camera. Now, I felt the Holy Spirit telling me to get a camera. I had no idea why. I just really felt a prompting to get a camera. And I was like, but I knew nothing about photography, videography, anything. I knew nothing about any of those things. And I just really felt led to get a camera. And so I was challenged when my money was dropped, but I still just actually went and invested in a camera. Now, at this point in my life, I recognize how much of a good investment that was. And even with the studio, with the MacBook Pro initially I bought, what a good investment that was. I now have my own studio, and I now have the ability to produce content like this whenever I want. I have machines, I have the ability to do various different things. With the camera has allowed me to begin to do photography at church. It's enabled me to begin to do, I did my own music video with a camera. And it's these things that you have to be led with in investing. And I believe really the scriptural reference that says, it does say the Holy Spirit can lead you into all truth and lead you into all things. And I believe that's the case. And so invest in yourself and be led by the Holy Spirit as to the things you should invest in. There'll be things that crop up that you're like, there's a red flag there. Just don't do it. And if you feel being led towards something, it may not even make logical sense. I remember talking to people before I bought a camera, and my intention to do music video. I just felt like I could do music videos, and I've never done it in my life. And I just literally invested in myself. I took a big risk on myself, buying a camera that, as I said, I didn't have the money to waste at the time. That was a bonus for a whole year that I'd used, and I invested in the camera, a second-hand camera. I bought it from Computer Exchange. I bought like one lens. I didn't have money to buy lenses, and I actually, and this is another part, I sold my PlayStation 4. I sold my PlayStation, which I loved. I used to play games all the time, but I said to myself, I'm investing in this, I'm going all in. I sold my PlayStation 4 and didn't have a games console. I still actually don't even have a games console. I play games through my Mac into Windows, boot camped with an external GPU. Long story. But essentially, on the basic level, I sold something that was really important to me to go towards what God was saying, even if it didn't make sense to me. And that meant I was able to actually film, edit, and put out my first and currently only music video, professional, quote-unquote professional music video. For a first-time video, I think it's a great effort, and it's called Never Be Alone. You can find it on YouTube, find it on my channel, and have a look at that. Just Matthew Ojar, Never Be Alone. But yeah, I think you have to really decide to build long-term. As I said, investing in tools and training, that goes hand in hand with what I just said. You have to build and invest in tools that that you feel like you can use, even if you don't fully understand them. The ability not to understand something in this day and age really lies with you. I've got to be brutally honest with that at this point in my life. There's so many skills I've learned in the last 2 years that I never thought I'd be able to do. But it's your mentality and your ethic, your work ethic towards something. I don't think the excuse that you don't know something is valid nowadays, if I've got to be honest. There's so many resources out there. The internet is your best friend. Google is your best friend. YouTube is your best friend. There's a lot of misinformation, but if you read and dig far enough, you will find correct information. And for me, I'm looking for confirmations. You know, it says like there's 2 or 3 things in the word of 2 or 3 witnesses, something will be established. Sometimes by the time you've heard something 2 or 3 times, that's the truth. And you have to sift through sometimes the misinformation and the lies in an area when you're not knowledgeable about it, or reach out to your networks. Your networks are your biggest asset you have. Reach out to them and say, look, you're quite informed about this area. Can you tell me about it? Can you tell me about this area? Does this area, does this advice I'm hearing, does that sound legitimate to you? And most people will give that advice for free. You're not asking a big in-depth question. You're asking a very simple question. So that's what I'd say in relation to that. And this comes back to me not being tight. Invest in people around you. Some of the greatest people you have are people around you that you're involved with on other levels, with other things. A great example I'll give about this, and I won't give the name of the person, but there's somebody currently at the moment that I'm working with. I've never worked with them on a project. They are contributing and helping on my new project. And I've never worked with them on a project. But I've worked with that person on other projects and I've seen the fruits of what they have. And I'm like, man, I'm going to invest in you. Like, I'm going to spend a bit of money. I'm going to try and honor the gift that's there in you. And I've done that. It's not the first time I've done it. I actually recorded my debut album years ago now. And I'll have to get into why that didn't work at some point. But I invested in the people that were around me. It wasn't a lot of money that I paid. I'll admit that it wasn't the hugest amount of money, but I paid the best that I could do at the time. And I was very honest about that, but I didn't attempt to not invest in them. I didn't say to the guys, look, I know you're a musician. I know you play, either semi-professionally or professionally, and you go out and you make money doing it, but I want your time and your energy as a favor to me. People might believe in your gift, but if you're not willing to invest in them, you can just expect what they're going to give you is going to be whatever's convenient to them. And to be honest, with most people I know, they've got great hearts, they'll give me great stuff. It's not about that, but to me, it's about honoring people and honoring the gift in someone's life. And as you honor, people will honor you. You're not doing it for that reason. For me, I just believe in honoring people. Like, I believe if you're somebody who's worthy of honor, I should give you that honor. There shouldn't be anything in my mind that says that I shouldn't honor you unless you show me there's not a reason to honor you. And even then, I might not honor you in my heart and my mind, but I will honor you publicly. I'm not going to dishonor you. And as I said, there are people that you sometimes have to address and deal with, but for me, as a rule, invest in the people around you. The people around you are gold. They are people that sometimes God has sent, and you have to. That goes on to my next point, which is seeing the gifts in people. And trying people out, seeing the gifts that are in people, try them out. You might know someone, as I said, sometimes there's a gap in your knowledge or a gap in your understanding, and there's someone who's close to you or around you that can do that thing. Why not reach out to the person, offer them money, ask the Holy Spirit what's the right amount you should offer them it, and let them help you. You don't have to do everything by yourself. But I think there's a misconception sometimes. I mean, I do a lot of things by myself, but as I said, most of it's through necessity, not choice. But I do, when I try and see people around me that I think have gifts that complement or help me, I'll reach out to them. I've got no problem with that. I'm not the king of everything. And even sometimes if you know how to do something, what that does, and I think knowing how to do things enables you to kind of quality control things a little bit more, because you have an understanding of what something is on a basic level. If now I know video on a basic level, if someone tells me they can't do this transition, for example, I'd be like, well, I can do it, or I can look it up and know how to do it. So like, why can't it be done? And these are the things. Sometimes people will just try to give you the runaround because they just they don't think you know what you're talking about. That's why it's important to be informed. And yeah, so I mean, for me, I identify, I would say, seasonal and long-term partners. Sometimes you have people that come in to help you for a season. Sometimes you don't always know, but you have to follow the promptings, I think, of the Holy Spirit. There'll be promptings like, okay, you should work with this person, and you kind of hear this voice like, okay, you should work with this person. And unless you're seeing red flags, go for it, man. There's nothing to stop you. I mean, what I would say is draw parameters around it until you know it's something that is worked, and you know the person, they know you, and you have a track record together, or you've got a track record of actually working with. Sometimes as well, you'll see people working on something else and they're great, but as soon as they come to do your thing, the fit's just not there. And that doesn't mean that they're bad or anything else like that. It just means the fit's not there. And even when I talked about producers in my previous project, I hope in my previous episode, I hope it wasn't misconstrued that those producers weren't good. It's just that they weren't the right fit for me and what I was trying to achieve at that time. And I've had many interactions like that, many projects or collaborations that have failed along the years, just because we weren't a good fit. Maybe I wasn't what they were looking for. Maybe they were not what I was looking for. So yeah, listen as well to who people tell you that they are. So sometimes, yeah, I mean, working on music is not the fixy-uppy game. It's really not. Listen to who people tell you they are. If you constantly hear excuses from someone, or someone is disrespecting you, or someone's not being clear about things, that's who that person is. You don't have time to fix people. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I believe in loving everybody. I believe in working with as many people as I can. I believe in believing in the potential in people 100%. But for me, there's fundamental things I can't deal with as a person. One of them is rudeness. The other one is like a kind of don't care attitude. Lack of ownership is another one for me. Excuses, too many excuses, another thing that I can't deal with professionally. And you have to approach it that way. I'm a semi-professional musician. I'm not even making millions of pounds of this, but these are the stuff that I live by. And unfortunately, it may mean I do less work, but it means the work that I get to do is more quality, in my opinion, because I don't just use anybody like, through necessity. I don't just use anybody. I try to collaborate with people that I believe add value to me and that I can add value to them. Reciprocal relationships are the best thing you'll get in this industry. As I said, this leads on to my next point. Ensure your values line up. People show you who they are. As I said, people show you who they are, and you have to make sure that people line up with your core values. If one of your core values is you don't believe in timekeeping, then work with people that don't believe in timekeeping. Birds of a feather flock together. For me, timekeeping is important. For me, deadlines are important. For me, understanding and clarity of instruction and discussion and feedback are important things for me. So they're the kind of people that I would choose to work with. I would say value yourself. Just because, like for me at the moment, I mean, on Insta I might have only about 500 something followers. YouTube I might have 65 subscribers. Facebook I might have like 2,000 friends. Insta maybe like 1,000 followers. I'm by no means a big fish in this, but I value myself. I really do. Just because Justin Bieber comes to me tomorrow and would say, look, Matt, I really want you to work on this project. But one, I'm not going to pay you anything. Two, I'm not going to give you any writing credit. And three, you have to fly yourself out. You kind of have to go, well, no. Like, do you know what I mean? And, boy, to be honest, if that came, would I really take it? Potentially I would. It's Justin Bieber, innit? But no, seriously, I mean, for me, I would just look at things and really say, okay, what's my value? What are the current things? Like at the moment, I've got 4 kids. I'm trying to provide for them. Does this make sense for me? It might be sometimes you have to take L's in something, but usually the way you enter a situation is the way you're going to exit it. So if the situation is looking really bad before you start it, it's probably not for you. Value yourself. And it's something that says in the Bible, Ecclesiastes 3, I believe it says, where it says time and chance happen to everybody, and there's a time for everything under the sun. So you have to be willing to say, okay, I'm going to forego this for now. In the future, something better may come along. It may not. It may never come along, but choose not to live in regret. You know, if you make a decision that you think is best for you at that time, it's probably the best decision. That leads on to praying about opportunities. For me, at this point, there was a point where I literally prayed for every single opportunity that came my way. It's not that I don't pray for opportunities anymore. It's just that I have my senses a bit more exercised, that there are certain things I'll pray about because I'm really considering them, and other things I'll just dismiss outright because of values, because of other things like that. So it's a lot easier for me to now at this point understand things I want to be attached to and things I don't want to be attached to. If values are wrong, then I just won't attach myself to it. I'll pray about opportunities that I think, okay, Lord, are you really sending this opportunity? But sometimes you can have mirages in that. So yeah, I mean, that leads me on to my next point, which is do not be hungry for free. Lord Father, help me to preach this. Do not be hungry for free. Because something's free doesn't mean it's good. We all love, trust me, we all love a freebie. I love freebies. Love freebies. My gosh, if there's something I can get for free, I'll go there. I remember one time when I was working in Central, I queued up for a burrito for about an hour because it was free. I love freebies, but I'm not hungry for free. There's a difference. Everything doesn't have to be free for me. I work, I earn, I make money with things that I make money with. I'm willing to invest in things. Be willing to invest in your art. Be willing to invest in people. Be willing to invest in yourself. Don't always be looking for something that's free. Sometimes free, you'll get exactly what you pay for. Also, that leads me on to my next point. If you're doing something for free, you could do a value exchange. You know, like I will do something for you. If you do something for me, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. But you making it plain, that's what it is from the get-go. Because instead you carry value. Sometimes you'll do things to people just because you know you have the ability to do it. But, you know, if you do it free, value exchange. Respect and honour other people's time, communication styles, and what they can and can't do. A big one for me. Respect and honour people. If someone's telling you, as I said, it goes back to my other point, if someone's telling you they can't do something, respect and honour it. That's what it is. Respect and honour people's communication styles. If people don't like to speak on the phone, text them. If they want to speak on the phone, speak to them on the phone. Don't text them. If someone wants the voice note. Voice note for me is the perfect in-between of everything. Voice note me and we can get along just fine because I can get back to you when I can and everything else like that. But yeah, respect that with people. Look for track records in potential collaborators. Not everyone will have a track record. Sometimes you have to go with your gut feeling or where you're being led to. You may not see someone's track record, but you will have a sense of someone's track record, even if it's just their behavior track record, even if it's just the name that person has in and around the space. If someone has a bad name, it's likely they have a bad track record. So people might have a bad track record about me. I'm sure there's things I've flopped, but man, you won't know. If the Lord leads you to me, come on in. But anyway, the last one is do not overcommit. So when you enter into a relationship to work with someone, don't overcommit. Keep it to the project you're doing. Keep it to the thing you're assigned for that person to do. It may look like the most exciting partnership in the world. Things change, people change. So circumstances also change. So don't overcommit to something. Ask people if that's what you want to work towards. But if it doesn't work, don't be afraid to leave it alone. Don't be afraid to cut things off when they're not working. Don't be afraid to not commit too much on a project. Someone wants to work with you and you're a producer, do one song. See how that song goes. See if you're compatible work-wise, mentality-wise, attitude-wise. There's a lot of things that go into working with people. And then take it from there. Grow it steadily. Slow and steady wins the race. You're not here to just do things and be a fly-by-night. If you're building and this whole thing is sustained sessions, these are tips that will help you to build for the long term. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I don't think it was as maybe light as the first one. This is a lot more formal. But you can see I'm not here to play games. And Stax Records, if you know about Stax Records. If not, research them. Research as well, that's another big one I'd say. Research as much as possible. Stax Records, a great black record label in America that had some great artists. One of the greatest soul singers, Otis Redding, was from there, as well as many different acts. I've been to the museum there in Memphis. And yeah, man, this thing is a long-term thing. So sustain if you can with some of the things, the nuggets I'm trying to give. As I said, I'm by no means an authority, but I just appreciate you listening in and hearing my heart, because my heart is to serve people and to give to people with my very limited experience I have. So tune in for episode 3. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again, and I appreciate you. God bless you, and hopefully you see me again soon. Bye.